The faint click of Daniel's key echoed in the silent house, each sound resonating like a drumbeat in Ava's ears. She hadn't heard him come in. Her eyes, though, were fixed on the object that had rolled out from his jacket pocket, a small white rectangle barely noticeable in the dim hallway light. 'Twas a receipt. Why was he carrying a receipt for a women's dress from a boutique downtown? A dress that costs an awful lot of money. For a moment, she grappled with her instincts, the logical part of her screaming that she was reading too much into this. Then doubt, like a persistent cough, refused to go away. Who was the dress for? Had it been a gift? Was there another woman in Daniel's life that he was buying presents for? Her mind conjured images of romantic dinners, whispered conversations. Suddenly, the silence of the house felt deafening. Daniel, her darling husband, the man she had given 10 years to, had always been attentive, loving, and faithful. An executive at a tech firm, he commanded respect in boardrooms while showering her with affection when they were home. How could she not have noticed any of it? Panic threatened to engulf her, but she fought it down, determined to get answers. This was no rash decision. This was her life, her marriage. She needed to know the truth. As dawn broke, casting soft hues of gray across the room, Ava knew what she had to do. Her husband was due back from a business trip later that day. Time was ticking, and she needed to find out the truth. But where to start? She couldn't confront Daniel without proof. That would only push him away, making him defensive or worse, leading him to pack his bags and leave. So she devised a plan. She pulled out her laptop, determined to track down the boutique mentioned on the receipt. She typed in the address, pulling up the store's website. Their inventory page boasted an array of high-end designer dresses. The one that caught her eye was the same one listed on the receipt. It was still available, displayed prominently as if daring her to buy it. Her fingers trembled as she clicked on the image. It was a beautiful sapphire blue number with intricate lace detailing. Not the kind of dress she would normally look at, let alone buy. A sudden surge of anger coursed through her. Why did he buy this for her? Hadn't they agreed to be transparent about their finances? It was then she noticed something peculiar. The dress had been bought 2 days ago, the same day Daniel had left for his business trip. Her heart pounded against her ribs like a trapped bird. Her gut screamed her suspicions, but her mind refused to believe it. Daniel would never, or would he? Ava struggled with the turmoil of emotions threatening to consume her. She loved her husband. Trust was the bedrock of their relationship. But the receipt, that blasted receipt, had planted seeds of doubt that wouldn't stop sprouting. As she wrestled with these thoughts, she didn't notice Daniel standing in the doorway, his face etched with concern. He had arrived home earlier than expected and found her laptop open, her phone beside it with the boutique's website pulled up. In his mind, thousands of scenarios played out. Had someone at work been nasty to her? Was she sick? His gaze fell on the dress, the one he had picked out for a surprise anniversary present. A gift meant to express his love, a tangible representation of a decade spent building a life with Ava. When he saw the pain etched on her face, the worry in her eyes, it felt like a punch to the gut. Before he could speak, before he could explain, Ava looked up, her eyes red-rimmed, lips trembling. In that moment, the walls between them crumbled. All the suppressed emotions, the unspoken fears came crashing down. She confronted him, tears streaming down her face, demanding answers. In response, Daniel could only stare back in disbelief. How could she think that he would cheat on her after all they've been through together? It was absurd. Yet seeing the hurt he had caused her, the damage done by his silence, he knew there was only one thing he could do. The following days were a blur. Daniel tried to be patient, to give Ava time to process what he had told her, knowing that trust once broken was a long bridge to rebuild. But her reaction surprised him. Instead of the anger, the accusations he had braced for, she listened. She absorbed his words, her face a mask of pain and disbelief. Then she disappeared. 1 minute she was there, her eyes questioning, her hands reaching out as if to touch his face. The next, she was gone, vanished without a trace. Her phone went straight to voicemail, and her workplace said she hadn't shown up for work. Her parents were out of town, her friends unable to shed any light on her whereabouts. Days turned into a week, and the police report filed by Ava's worried sister yielded no results. Daniel paced his house, each step echoing the frantic beat of his heart. Where was Ava? What if someone had hurt her? Guilt gnawed at him. He should have handled things differently, should have explained sooner. He remembered the day he met Ava, how their eyes locked across a crowded room, how they fell in love over shared dreams and late-night talks. She was his rock, his confidant, his best friend. How could he have endangered the love they built so painstakingly? Then he got a call, a cryptic message that pulled him out of his guilt-ridden stupor and sent him hurtling towards a new set of shocking revelations. He drove to the address provided, his car crunching to a halt outside a modest apartment block. The peeling paint and graffiti-marred walls stood in stark contrast to the expensive neighborhood it was located in. His knock went unanswered. He tried the door. It was unlocked. Inside, the apartment was bare, devoid of furniture except for a worn sofa and a TV mounted on the wall. On the coffee table was a half-empty glass of wine and a note, its contents hitting Daniel like a physical blow. Ava had taken her own life. Grief threatened to consume him, but he pushed it down, focusing on the task at hand. There had to be more to this. He scoured the apartment, finding nothing until he spotted a loose floorboard. Underneath, he found a hidden compartment containing a laptop and a USB drive. The laptop was password protected, but the USB held files that made Daniel's blood run cold. They were pictures, intimate pictures of Ava and a man he knew all too well. The man whose smiling face had greeted Ava at the boutique, the man who had been unfaithful to him, betraying their friendship, their vows. It was Ben, his best friend. Driven by a mixture of grief, anger, and betrayal, Daniel sought out Ben only to find that his best friend had also vanished. Every attempt to contact him was futile. It was as if Ben had melted into thin air. Daniel was left with more questions than answers. His worst fears confirmed, his world shattered. Was Ben behind Ava's death? Did he manipulate her into it? Or was he like her, a victim of circumstance? These questions echoed in Daniel's mind as he decided to take matters into his own hands. He had access to resources, his own network of influence, a potent combination that allowed him to dig deeper into his wife's death and his friend S' disappearance. He discovered financial discrepancies, hidden bank accounts, and most shockingly, a secret second life Ben had been living. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, Daniel uncovered a conspiracy that reached far beyond infidelity. He uncovered a dangerous underworld that his naivete had kept him blissfully unaware of, a world where his friend was deeply entrenched. The truth about Ben was like a punch to the gut. He wasn't just some ordinary guy who happened to stray. He was a small-time crook, a fraudster who used charm and deceit to get ahead. Daniel realized he had been played, used by someone he considered a brother. It wasn't just Ava who had been betrayed. Daniel found himself entangled in a web of lies, his trust misplaced, his world turned upside down. As he delved deeper, he found himself in harm's way, targeted by forces he couldn't have imagined. It was a perilous journey, fraught with close calls and betrayals, but it was a necessary one. Daniel's pursuit of the truth not only unveiled the dark underbelly of a seemingly normal life, but also led him to a strength he never knew he possessed. In the end, the truth came out, but not without a heavy price. The revelation shook everyone around them, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The ending was both tragic and triumphant. Tragic because lives were irrevocably altered, but triumphant because justice, albeit delayed, was served. As the dust settled, Daniel was left to pick up the pieces of his shattered life, vowing to honor Ava's memory by becoming the hero she saw in him all along. He carried on, not just for himself, but for Ava. a testament to the enduring power of love and the relentless pursuit of truth.